Today we are here with the North Face, and we have a real specialist with us today who knows a lot about the North Face in general, specifically the Summit Series, and we're going to be exploring it all today with Laura Akita. There you are, Laura. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Great to see you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining. And then just because I want to make sure I got it right, did I say your last name right?
Yep, you got it.
Okay, yes. uh, well, welcome, Laura. And so you're a senior merch manager with the Summit Series. And what does that mean to be a senior merchandising manager? What does your day-to-day look like at the North Face?
Yeah, great question. When I first started here, someone who at the time was more senior on the team told me one of the things they loved about this job is that no 2 days are ever the same.
Hmm.
And in about 10 years, I can tell you that that remains true. No 2 days are ever the same. We operate kind of in seasonal flows. So things will ebb and flow throughout the seasons. We're working on four at least at any given time. So sometimes you'll have, a season is really busy and one's not so busy, and then, they'll all kind of ebb and flow together. Sometimes multiple get busy at once, and sometimes they're all a little bit quiet and you get to maybe take a short Friday. Um, Merchandising here at the North Face at this moment in time encompasses both merchandising and product management. So the merchandising side of our brains really is deployed to analyze the marketplace. What are our competitors doing? What's interesting? What types of storytelling are they engaging in? How are they structuring their product lines? What does that line architecture look like? And then the product management side is really about taking insights from the marketplace and either briefing new products or coming up with ways that we want to update existing products to continually make them better and more interesting, better able to serve our consumer. And then the manager portion of that title just means that I am currently responsible for taking care of a team of people who
Okay.
who does this work.
Yeah, right. You don't do this all alone, but you got to do it with the team. So Um, that's interesting, right? So there's a lot of data in your job with this going out and analyzing the industry and analyzing what's going on either externally or internally. And then I think there's some artwork involved as well as far as concepting and progressing forward. It seems like a cool mix that you have to consider. Um, what should be in your career path to get into this position? And I mean, it sounds like an awesome job, a dream job for many. And like, how did you evolve into this? What was your path?
Yeah, great question. This is a job that I didn't know existed. I had no idea. No one told me on
Yeah.
career day in high school. No one said that you could do this for a job.
Yeah.
Very, very mad at all the career counselors in my life. But I started in retail. I was selling, in college. I wanted to make some money. So I started just selling jeans and t-shirts, date night outfits, things like that. Nothing super technical, but I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed working directly with people, helping them find something that was perfect for whatever they were looking for, whether it was going on a vacation or just getting ready for work. It was fun for me to help find that perfect thing for each individual person. And here I also cultivated a real interest in textiles. I started buying for a shop, and that really led me to want to understand the manufacturing side of the business. I wanted to know, hey, we went and saw this sample at the trade show, and then it came into the store and it feels different or it looks different. Why is that happening? It drove
Uh-huh.
me bananas. I didn't understand, and I wanted to know. So I went kind of looking for something on the manufacturing side, and that led me to an opportunity through a coworker to do some contract work for the North Face. They had somebody going out on maternity leave. They needed somebody just temporarily, and that kind of snowballed into a full-time job. So here I am. And I don't know, I love this job because it is very, Marshall, you were mentioning, it's science and art. It is very like left brain, right brain. And
Hmm.
my school was very was very creative. I was in school for design and media art. I'd gotten in actually as a dance major and then
Wow.
switched into design and media art because my dad said I needed to do something that could make me some money, and I couldn't see out of creative. I couldn't I couldn't see
Don't
anything
worry about
past
that
that.
later. Come on.
I thought I was like, well, design would get me into an office job at least. That would probably help, right? Um, but I always struggled to really finish creative projects on a timeline. And I also working retail, I was really interested in business. So this really has been kind of that perfect marriage for me of being able to understand and speak those creative languages, but also the language of business, which kind of gives it a little bit more meaning to me.
Yeah, I love the outdoor industry that way, and that it is business, but it's like business lightweight, right? We're all, in the end, we're selling products that people are going out and having fun with, and it kind of makes it really an interesting way to incorporate the interest in business, but also that lifestyle and the creative part, so we can all have a great day out there. I mean, that's what we're selling, right? So it's pretty cool.
Exactly, which is way more fun. Just for the record, it's way more fun than jeans and t-shirts.
Okay, then, yeah, having not been in there, I'll take your word for it. Um, Well, and so you work at the North Face, right? What do you think is something unique about the North Face? Help us understand a little bit more about the brand. Like working there, like what have you noticed that's really extra special or unique?
For sure. So my favorite thing that has been my favorite thing since I started here are really the people,
Mhm.
both the mix of people that the brand seems to attract at headquarters, and that kind of I'll say headquarters in a larger sense of everybody that's part of the brand, retail associates included, because we have quite a few that have come to work here, and they're um, I love how much everybody is in loves the outdoors, loves to get out, be active, and is also always pushing for improvement. They're always pushing what's new, what's next, how can I be better at this? How can we be better at this? And very team oriented. And our athletes are that way too, which has really been getting to get closer with them, I think has been a continual source of inspiration for me. They're all so humble, so kind, so hardworking, really creative thinkers, and you can't help but want to support them in all of the crazy things that they do.
Yeah, you have an athlete team that is dreaming up just new ways to get out and experience the outdoors and do bigger, bolder lines or redo another line in a cool new way, right? And that must be really interesting to have access to these. I mean, your athlete team is second to none in anywhere in the world, and it must be fascinating to be able to work with some of these folks and get inspiration.
Yeah,
Um,
it's definitely cool. They're pretty incredible, all of them. And you would never know, in talking to them, they don't walk around acting like they're best in class
yeah,
athletes. They're just
just
people
people.
trying to get some stuff done.
Yeah, right. Just happens to be on the side of a big mountain instead of in an office. So,
Yeah.
um, and then just kind of last thing about the North Face, like I think I know a lot about the North Face, but what's one aspect of the North Face that you just wished everybody knew? Something unique about it that you're just like, if only y'all knew this, that you would really get it.
Oh man, I mean, I feel like there's a ton of things. I wish that um I would say I wish everybody knew how many products we make and
Mhm.
how many products we have made over time. For every one that makes it to market, there's a whole host that we've tested and maybe didn't quite get there. There's so much tinkering that happens. I would add on though to kind of something that I love about this brand is our ability to really meld best in class performance with fashion forward style. I
Yeah.
think that's our niche in the marketplace that we're able to deliver both, which no other brand really can do.
Yeah, and it shows, right? You don't just get a print like this on accident, right? It's a lot of experience and know-how and how what the trends are and how to build some really cool looking stuff. And we're going to explore three very different expressions of that today as we get into some of these products. So that's really cool. And let's keep that in mind as we do explore some of these pieces. So Laura, what I'd like to do today, just as we get into this sort of tech side of this, is explore a few different topics, right? I'm gonna just do a brief overview of the GORE-TEX laminate technology that you're utilizing. And I want to do this because I want to show these differentiation into product classes that as we consider it, because we're going to explore a product from each of those together. And then, you know, at the end, if we have time, we should talk about care and some of that as well. But I just want to begin by looking into really, you have many products, some of which have Gore, some of which don't. And the point here of incorporating GORE-TEX into the products is to give it into it kind of bumps it into a class where you're going to have reliable waterproofness, windproofness, and breathability, and really that high end. And what that allows folks to do is to get out safely into more and more environments and remain comfortable in these really extreme conditions and environments that folks are going into. So whether it be skinning up, you want to be comfortable, or whether it be charging down, you need to be comfortable. And so these products really lean into that. And we do that through the use of our core benefits. So anytime you see a Black Diamond logo on any of the products, right? So in the North Face line, some of the products have this Black Diamond logo incorporating GORE-TEX, and you're always going to be durably waterproof, reliably breathable, and totally windproof, right? Fact, that will always exist, whether it be a 2-layer piece or whether it be a GORE-TEX Pro piece. But then we do get into some differentiation from our end, right? There are variables. And in this network, we've talked a lot about some of the real technical specifics of the variables. But another way to look at it is just straight up on the hang tag. And we have 3 different hang tags that you're going to see come on GORE-TEX products. We have the one we see here on the left called GORE-TEX products, where there's no additional call out on the hang tag. That is called GORE-TEX products, right? And then we bump into this class called GORE-TEX performance, and then GORE-TEX Pro. Now, all of these are going to be very bomb-proof, and they are tested to an extremely high standard. But for each of these, we tend to crank up the testing a little bit to ensure this product can go into maybe a harsher or the harshest environments that you're going to go in and experience. And so you're going to see these different hang tags, and generally what they reflect is an increased severity of testing. For example, all GORE-TEX products are going to be subjected to what we call style qualifications. This is where we test a prototype. That's many of those prototypes that Laura was just talking about. We test it before it goes to production to ensure that it is going to work from a waterproof standpoint and in intended end usage. And so we have different types of tests we do for style qualification. One of the main tests is the rain room, where we put products on specialized mannequins and then we turn on the rain. And the point here is that for GORE-TEX products, we do a lot of rain, right? It's going to be anywhere up to 2 inches rain per hour, and for about half an hour, right? And we're going to test that product to make sure no water's getting in through the different parts of the garment. Well, if it's performance, we're going to crank that up to 3 inches of rain per hour. In fact, we're going to strip the DWR off the jacket as well, and then we're going to run that for a half hour. And then if it's pro, well, this gets what we call the storm test, where we actually take a significant step up. The rain goes to 22 inches of rain per hour. It comes from all directions now, and we run it for an hour. And so you can see that pro it has a higher severity of testing to ensure that that product is going to work for extended periods of time in the gnarliest of storms that these folks are going into. And so you have these different options, and you can notice these on the hang tags. And so this is just one reflection of that. So today what we're going to do is explore 3 products in each of these categories with Laura: the Hex, the Verbier, and the Surcoût. The Hex being in the products category, Verbier in performance, and Surcoût in pro. So all are snow-oriented pieces, but each of them has a very different intended end usage. And this is where we're going to rely on Laura's expertise to help us understand what the concept was here and how this was proven in the field to make sure it's going to work for what we say it's going to, or what they say it's going to work for. So Laura, let's bring you back up here and start to get into exploring some of these products. How would you describe this lineup of products? Like kind of an overview as you see these 3 products here together of the snow line. Like what's the high level comparison in your mind?
Yeah, for sure. So I think one thing that we're really excited about starting in the fall 25 season, we really feel like we have a lineup of Gore products for snow sports that can deliver something for every type of rider. We do have a more robust menu than what you see on this page. The 3 that we have are just kind of good representations of the types of things that we're getting after in the line, but we do have some additional products as well, really delivering for everyone from your kind of hard charging heli drop type skiers or down to your everyday resort riders, as well as folks styling it out in the park or the street.
right? So each one dialing into an intended end usage. Now, you could use the Circu in the resort and be psyched, right? You could use the hex for a heli drop and be psyched, right? It's going to work really well. And actually, I think some of these have been used that way. Maybe you can even share some stories. But let's begin with the hex because this is a cool kit. Um, and from a GORE-TEX standpoint, what this is a two-layer technology. So this uses and correct me if I'm wrong, Laura, a 150D face laminated to our EPE PFAS-free membrane. And then you select a liner on the inside that then hangs next to base layer. And then there's that space in between where you can do a lot of cool pocketing and things like that, which are resort folks tend to like. What in your mind, right? What differentiates this kit from other kits in the North Face line, and really what's its intended end usage? We can begin there.
Yeah, so this one really came out of some conversations with our athletes, particularly the ones who are riding in the street or in the terrain park. So thinking about Spencer Schubert, Cole Navin, Blake Paul, Jess Kimura, Taylor Brook, athletes like this, Kennedy Deck, who for them, they're, the arena where they're participating is a little bit closer to home. We have some athletes who are going out multi-day missions, miles and miles and miles from civilization or getting dropped out of a heli on the top of a remote mountain. These folks are in the street, they're in the terrain park, they're close to a car. The types of features that they need are a little bit different, and their product priorities, therefore, are a little bit different. And what they needed from us was they really wanted GORE-TEX protection because it is the best. Everyone knows it's the best. You see it and you know you are going to be protected. It really does work. That was number one. Number two was really great durability. Number three, timeless style. You see a lot of these guys and gals riding in mountain jackets. And what they really wanted was they wanted something that had that iconic TNF look, but had a little bit more of a snow sports oriented feature set. So a little bit more length in the jacket, more pocketing, as well as a little bit more of an oversized fit. And they needed a pant that corresponded back to that. Your mountain jacket, mountain pant are great in terms of protection, great in terms of style, but those were built as climbing pieces. And if you try, when we look at compatibility with snow sports gear, they fall a little bit short. They were never intended to be compatible with snow sports gear, so that's fine. No shade against those products. So it was really about taking that iconic DNA and creating some really great snow pieces. And then we also had to maintain flexibility in these styles, which was an important reason for the two-layer aspect.
Right. Yeah, and so yeah, these have a very unique styling, right? And as you were explaining these to me, you were sort of saying these are some of your athletes' favorites, like at least the park athletes or maybe the more resort athletes. What are some of the features that have really drawn them into these products? Something that we can point out to customers when selling it.
Yeah. So fit is really the big one here. We spent in this part of our athlete universe and part of our product line, fit, it really is a feature for these guys.
Mhm.
It is a go no go as to whether something is going to be worn or not. Um, in the same way that fit is a feature, on the more technical summit end, it it is here too, but it's a little bit more of about the look, right? These guys are
Yeah.
spending a season or more perfecting a video part, and they want things to look right.
Yeah.
They're shooting at much closer ranges. Um, you can really see a lot of the detail. So silhouette, fit and silhouette here were really, really important. So it's relaxed fit, a really straight classic silhouette that's able to, when you size it up, you get really great kind of slouch and scrunch.
Mhm.
The shape of the pieces is going to really perform the way that they were looking for, and in a way that feels classic and timeless. I think we see right now a lot of pants for a lot of things, snow sports and climbing and just kind of general use. Pants are getting real big again. Um, Lots of fun to be had out there. I think we didn't want to get really oversized.
Yeah.
maintaining functionality here was really important, as well as just kind of that classic look. So when you look back on your video part in 10 years, you're not going, oh my gosh, we
Yeah,
wore
what was I
what?
thinking?
You look back and you're like, yeah, that was that really cool North Face
Yeah,
kit that
that
I
was
got to
good.
wear.
Yeah.
Um, I think the real highlight for the athlete crew, and the kind of the big win for our team was nailing the pant. That was a
Mm.
really big one, being able to get the right shape in the leg. Hours of conversation about the right shape in the leg and not getting the pant to break over your knee. Um, and a big way that we got after that was taking off the kick patch.
Mhm.
Uh, a lot of the styling here is really snowboard inspired. I'd say we have tons of skiers wearing these styles, but the look is pretty snowboard inspired. Thinking about really nailing that silhouette. Getting rid of that kick patch was a huge help. You have that really stiff kind of boardy piece on the interior of your
Yep.
leg. It makes the fabric break in kind of a weird way over your knee. So moving that to just kind of a reinforcement around the hem, so you still are getting some great protection, but you're really able to nail the style. It was also about building adjustability in, and a robust feature set for both the jacket and the pant. When we were talking with Cole, one of the things he said was like, we don't need them to look super tricked out, but when I reach for a feature, I want it to be there.
Hmm.
That's what makes something feel nice, feel considered, feel worth keeping is you reach for something, it's there. So you go and you want to adjust your cuff, you have a way to do that. You want to adjust your hem, you have a way to do that. Man, I want to just store something right here in my chest
Yeah.
pocket. Oh, look, I have a place to do that.
Super intuitive. Yeah.
Powder skirt removes on the jacket, which I think is an important one. The two powder skirt or not rages on as I think that's going to be a forever debate.
Of course.
At least it has been in the time I've been here, and so you can take that off. Um, the pants also have adjustability. They've got belt loops. They also have that Velcro adjust on the side, and then you also have elastication at the back, which was something that we took from a vintage North Face pant that Jess Kimura. And we really loved all the different ways that you can kind of make sure that this pant is fitting you exactly the way you want. And then we also have adjustability at the bottom of the hem. So, if you're sizing this up a couple of times and you kind of want to rein things in and style them the way that you want, you do have the ability to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fascinating. Sort of this intentionality that you put in, right? You want the features exactly where if I just like I want to stick my hand here and have a pocket, and you've done that, right? And you've been able to do the styling on these things. I think that's really just know that everything here is very intentional, right? The lack of that kick step on the inside, that's there on purpose because your athletes asked for it, and that is part of the functionality of this particular piece. We'd have a question here about men's versus women's styling on this, right? How do you approach that, and what are some of the key differences to point out on the sales floor in that styling?
Yeah. So the intent for men's and women's really are the same. The thing with the women's was, she wanted all of our female athletes wanted the same look as what the men have.
Hmm.
They just needed something built for their body, their proportions. So the fit intent is the same. It's relaxed, straight, meant to be kind of slouchy, a little bit oversized. It's just built for her body and built for his body. The jackets look the feature layout is a little bit different, men's to women's, and that was really just to give a little bit of a different look for him and her, so they didn't look like exact carbon copies of each other.
And then are there just getting the questions? I love it. Keep them coming, right? Because we have the person here who knows it. Thigh pockets. What's the philosophy around thigh pockets for this piece?
There are not thigh pockets on this one, only those hand pockets. We were having a lot of combos about, thinking about how these athletes wear their pants.
Hmm.
They're usually at least sizing up by one, sometimes by more,
Hmm.
going larger than their kind of measured size. And in that, we were talking about pocketing around the thigh and what happens to that when you're going up multiple sizes. Often your pocket can end up like on your knee. It
Yep.
was a very cargo pocket focused conversation at that moment in time. Your pocket can end up on your knee, which means your phone ends up on your knee. And the general consensus was we really don't need that. Also, just having things in that zone kind of messes up the overall silhouette, which if we go back to kind of the main goal with this, it was really nailing that silhouette. Um, so that is why we don't have thigh pockets on this pant.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Right? Very intentional, right? And if you want a thigh pocket, I bet there's some coming. So in some
We
of the
do
other
have other
pieces,
styles with thigh
yeah, so,
pockets.
right. And let's do that. Let's explore the next style. This has been great, right? So this is for adventures a little closer to home, right? So maybe resort specific, and really taking cues from that iconic mountain jacket, right? I mean, absolutely iconic North Face jacket. And then evolving it into something that is just absolutely perfect for your athletes and our customers who are going into resort and just want to have that cool looking look but full functionality. So that's the Hex with two-layer technology, again texted to that Gore-Tex product standard. Next, Laura, let's dive into the Verbier kit. This moves us into the Summit series. And so the first thing I want to ask you, just in sure we can talk a whole hour on this. What differentiates something that's not in the Summit series for something that's in the Summit series, right? This kind of bumps us into a different category.
Yeah. So we talked in Hex about the area or types of arenas in which somebody might be participating. So terrain park, street, you're a little bit closer to civilization, closer to home. Um, Summit series, we're starting to talk about moving kind of out into the backcountry. Maybe multi-day, maybe single day, but you are a little bit more self-supported when you are going to be out in a Summit series kit,
Okay.
or at least the intended use case. You know, the Muse use case, if you will, because I know these are
Yeah.
being worn in
All over. Yeah.
resorts
Yeah,
all
of
over the
course.
place. But the kind of the Muse, the reason that we're creating this is a little bit more self-supported. We're also with Verbier in particular, you know, we are assuming that you are um, not only self-supported, but maybe going to be engaging in some human-powered travel. So with Verbier, looking at a 3-layer construction instead of 2-layer, really wanting that kind of more streamlined 3-layer functionality versus the 2-layer that you get in Hex.
Yeah, and so this three-layer package has a 75D polyester face, very soft face, no crunch at all, right? It has a really nice soft hand to it, laminated, of course, to our EP fast-free membrane. And then this uses a SSD or brushed flannel backer. And so that's going to have that really cozy feel on the inside. So you're going to feel cozy in this piece. Not hot, but cozy, right? And there's a little distinction there, as it's not technically an insulated piece, it's a shell. And then these are fabrics that fall under our performance category, and these are tested to that slightly higher abrasion resistance standard. Kind of bumps it a lot up. So even though it's a 70D versus that 150D that we saw on the Hex, it still is a really robust, rugged kit. Now, I had the opportunity to use this last winter. I went up to Baldface with the North Face and got to ski cat ski, which was really kind of fun. Never done that before, but I was able to get this kit and try it out. And one of my first impressions, Laura, was that like I got a medium and I tried it on, and I'm a climber that skis, right? So I'm kind of more into that climber fit, and I was like, oh, I need a small, but there weren't any smalls, and so I wore the medium. And by the end, I was like, this is the exact right size now, and I kind of understand that slightly upsizing for getting out there and skiing, and the features were really intuitive and worked perfectly for this kind of machine powered backcountry touring that I was doing. Um, tell us a little bit about the intentionality with the Verbier, and is this the right situation that I was using it in? What help me reflect on my experience a bit from the feature standpoint.
Yeah, so I would say getting out with the Baldface guides in their beautiful terrain that I have never been to, but would really like to. Um,
Let's go.
Getting out, just just saying, put in a good word for me. Uh,
Yeah.
I've been good this year, I promise. Um, Definitely a perfect use case for something like Verbier. You know, you're getting out there, you're doing a variety of things out in the backcountry. Perfect use case. You get that little bit of extra warmth from that warm backer, which is so nice when you go to put the jacket on. If you're at a rest a little bit, really, really perfect, I would
Mhm.
say. Verbier kit for us, and kind of why this thing exists to begin with. This is all about bringing kind of a together really, really best in class technical performance with really cool style. So
Mhm.
thinking about, taking a function first mentality and then putting an extra filter of how can we bring a little bit of style? How can we make this look a little bit cooler, infuse some of that more street leaning look into something that still functions at a really, really high technical level. This piece ends up being kind of the go-to for really all of the athlete team. I think just about everyone has and wears this piece at some point um, in their season. A lot of even our street team, they're all getting out into the backcountry at some point, and so this one gets used a ton. Um, what everybody loves about it really is the versatility. You
Yeah.
get really great technical function. You have a nice quiet face fabric. So if you're out touring, you are able to kind of be a little bit more distraction free. Um, and then you get that really great style as well. We've had good feedback, and I'm glad to see one in the chat too. We've had good feedback on the new silhouettes for this season. The 23 to 24 was pretty long, especially in the jacket, and we shortened that up a little bit this season. Um, we had some feedback they were a little bit too long, and trend has been a little bit more shorter, oversized. So kind of trying to align there.
Yeah, and so adding in both these backcountry oriented features, something that could resort, right? And so I'm hearing you highlight versatility as a real key on this piece. This is being a really soft fabric. We have a question here just around like cold flex and how it performs in extreme cold, right? As extreme as Antarctica potentially, right? So how are you considering things like that for the cold? And I know at Gore we're cold flex testing this, right, to make sure that we put it in extreme cold, that we flex it for multiple cycles to make sure that it doesn't break down, it doesn't start to leak, so it's durable in that way. But do you have athletes that are taking these into extreme environments, and really what kind of feedback are you hearing about that?
Yeah, we definitely have athletes going into extreme environments. I will say, we're not, this kit wasn't necessarily tested with Antarctica
Yeah,
temperatures in mind.
no,
We are thinking of cold conditions, use in snow,
yeah.
obviously. But as cold as Antarctica or the North Pole, we're not necessarily
No, you have
testing
products for that, but that's not necessarily what this one's
for.
headed. So,
I
yeah.
will say though, all of our summit snow pieces, I believe, got used on when Hillary and Emily um, did Polar Moon a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
We had styles get used up there.
Amazing.
Very, very cold conditions, nothing to report back in terms of performance.
Yeah.
So anecdotally did well. We've also, of course, had athletes down in Antarctica and our stuff too, and have never, honestly, have never gotten anything back now that I'm thinking through the years, like we haven't had any performance concerns ever come back from those environments. So not specifically created for, but haven't run into any issues over the years. So I think
Um,
we would feel fine about these going.
yeah, right. And that's a part of that is that GORE-TEX technology. We've tested it to ensure that it can go into any environment, right? And then you do the designs that make it perfect for going into those environments. This is intended to be both inbounds and backcountry kit, right? So there are some safety features that need to be incorporated into backcountry kits, like a beacon, like potentially Reco. Let's begin with Reco. Is Reco incorporated into these products? And if so, or if not, why not?
Yeah, of course. So Reco has been it's been a topic of discussion. We always see competitors using it. We
Yeah.
know it is one of those things that people tout as a need for anytime you're getting out of bounds. The conversations that we have, because we're always going back to our athletes, they're the
Yeah.
the core of core users. They're so close to everything going on, and all the highest level people chatting. And what we always get back is that people really view it more as a way to find people after the fact.
Right. I
And
mean, I'll say body
it,
recovery, right? Is kind of
it
how that
yeah,
it's.
and like it's not really, I think people can view it as a safety feature,
Mhm.
which I think doesn't always, you can look at it in that way, sure, but we feel like it can give people a false sense of security. Um, so we have not used it for that reason. I think, certainly, I think we're also open though, to
Mm.
evolving that conversation. But the way that we have felt and have kind of continued to feel is that it doesn't, especially for the consumer it's marketed towards. I think and who can really glom onto that, we worry that it doesn't provide what they are actually looking for.
Yeah, you need a beacon, right? And if you're going to be getting into situations where there's a risk there, right? And I was able to use in the bibs, right? There's a really convenient thigh pocket that I liked, worked for the beacon. What was your approach to beacon compatibility in these products?
Yeah, so there is a pocket. There is a pocket on the thigh that has it's got a little kind of woven pouch and a little clip
Hmm.
in there that was, we from a legal standpoint, we can't actually say that it's a
Yeah.
beacon pocket.
Okay.
But the
Fair.
reason that it is there, we had one of our tech reps, AJ, who was guiding at the time, and he was saying, "Man, I really want to recommend our pants," because he's a tech rep for the North Face. He's like, "I want to be able to recommend our pants to my clients that I'm guiding. They want to buy something, but I can't because there's no pocket with a tether for them to put their beacon in.
Yeah, right.
And they really need to put it in the pant. That is the best place
It
to
is.
put it
Down on
is
the
in your
thigh.
pant.
Yeah.
Um, we got to add something. We're like, okay, yeah, hear you. We want you to be able to sell the pants too. And it wasn't something that had come up on the athlete side. I think they really kind of sort themselves when it comes to some
Yeah.
of that stuff. They're like, as long as there's a pocket for it here, I don't care. But we wanted these to be able to be viable for more consumers who are getting
Yeah.
out into the backcountry. So you do have that pocket with the little stretch woven and
Which is
the
super
clip.
nice because then the beacon doesn't flop around, right? It's a bigger pocket, but having that little stretch woven bonus pocket is sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll see that in all of our Summit Snow pants. You'll also see that in our Scepter kit, that is kind of drops down into the main line of
Hmm.
snow sports as well.
Um, that's awesome, right? And so, really going through these features, and I can. This is a great piece, and this is the versatile. If you were getting one kit to go into the snow, this really is where I would steer folks. And the colorways. There's a super cool new print that you have, right? There's options on the Verbier kit, and don't shy away from it. It's a high performing beast for sure, and I can vouch for that. But there's another one, right? This bumps us into the Gore-Tex Pro category, and this is a cool, slightly more niche piece. And it's really neat that you all built this. And I'm just going to begin with looking at this fabric. This is a North Face exclusive fabric. Something that, and Laura will ask you to comment on this, but this has been in the development process for a very long time between Gore and the North Face. And this uses a Spectra, a ripstop, through the fabric with actually a polyester ground, which is extremely unique in the pro category. It's the only poly fabric that I've seen in the pro category. Um, so that is a proprietary face fabric that the North Face developed. They partnered up with Gore to have us laminate that into a pro package, right? So adding in that woven backer, that extremely pick resistant, abrasion resistant backer, which makes this package very durable, or the most rugged, highest level of testing standards that we have. And then you design it into this really cool kit, right? So it's different fit profile, different pocket configuration, very different look with the Spectre fabric. What were you shooting out to achieve with the Circu kit?
Yeah. So this one we think about. So Circu is a glacier up in Alaska. And when we were doing our naming, redid our naming around fall 22, all the names correlate to places where you can expect to find kind of the muses for each of the kits. So Verbier, and sorry, I didn't talk about this. Verbier is a zone in Switzerland,
Hmm.
and it's home of one of the freeride world tour stops in Nenda. It also has a really great après scene. So it's that meld of like really great performance, really great style. In kind of a world-class location. Circu Glacier in Alaska. You're going to be thinking of this kit for, heli drops, really getting out doing crazy big hard charging lines, or people, or for people who aspire to that life. But the Muse is really that like function first, really kind of mission kit mentality with this. This Spectra development with Gore, we put this into work for the fall of 17 season. Um, and continued to iterate on it for quite some time. It's quite a delicate balance around really getting bonding temperatures right, both bonding face to the membrane and the backer, as well as bonding with seam tape. We
Yep.
had some really fun melted looking jackets along the way before we finally landed on this iteration. But it's always been something that we've been really excited about. Spectra is a really high molecular weight material, stronger than steel, super, super light, but super, super strong. And so when
Mhm.
we put it into the ripstop of this jacket, we're able to get that really great ripstop functionality at a really, really low weight and kind of that extreme of strength. And it's kind of a nice metaphor of like the overall package here. It's like trying to strike this really great balance between extreme durability and extreme efficiency. Thinking about, the mentality that you're going to be in riding some of these really crazy Alaskan spines. We're talking about adjustments in millimeters, right? Like fine tuned
Right.
adjustment, wanting everything to feel mission ready, ready to attack.
Mhm.
And so being able to have this ADD face with the Spectra ripstop, super strong, but also pretty light. And then with the Gore backer, really, really efficient, super durable membrane
Yeah.
with, because the membrane is so durable, able to have that really lightweight backer on the back of it. So the whole thing is just bomb proof and super efficient.
Yeah, and this stuff is so tear resistant. Like we have a machine at Gore that we use to take our fabrics and we figure out where do they tear, right? It's a machine that pulls um, really hard on fabric, and the goal here is to not to see if it doesn't tear, it's to see like when does it tear, right? What is the amount of force that it takes to tear? And our machine couldn't tear this. It just shut off. It's like, oh, sorry, I'm done. So we weren't able to take it to that extreme with our machine. It's so strong, and Spectre, you'll know from like the climbing industry, and all over the place when you're looking for something that needs to be lightweight and extremely tear resistant. That's where you're adding this into this product, right? So we end up with something that is a really unique fabric, and this is proprietary to the North Face. So now, from a feature benefit standpoint, right? Are there any like features that you would like us to call out, or things that your athletes have commented on, or maybe helped co-design? Just a few little Easter eggs in this product that maybe you can highlight for us.
Yeah, of course. So tons of pocketing in these styles.
Yeah.
This is, thinking one, you might have a lot of things to carry. Two, um, this type of writing really very as much a mental game as it is physical, right? It's being in the right headspace, being ready, mentally ready to go to attack your objective. You can be the most finely tuned athlete in the world, and if your head isn't in it, you should not be getting after uh, those types of objectives that day, right? Like you need to
Right.
take a rest. So thinking about refining your mental game, one of the things that's come up over the years is also making sure that you have all your stuff and it's all exactly where you want it. People will have kind of a mental map of where things are in their pockets. And some of it honestly comes down to kind of talismans almost, like making sure that you have that thing that you think you're going to need that maybe you
Mhm.
don't. Um, all the way to an actual talisman. Like Angel Collinson used to put rocks in her pocket. Like she would bring special rocks with her and she would have them in her pockets. And
Fascinating.
you'd be like, what are you putting in that one? She'd be like, oh, well, that's my this rock. And you're like, I'm sorry, come again. Uh, there are things that people need, to make themselves feel really ready. So all of the pockets, whether it's gummy bears or mental preparation rocks, whatever it is, we got a pocket for that. We also, you can see on the interior here the mic clip, which can be a really nice feature when you're out getting after this kind of stuff. It's also making these styles really great crossover for machine powered ski and snowboard guides. So thinking of like Silverton Mountain or our friends at Baldface, the feature set for these is really tuned for the type of work that they're doing. And so being able to have some crossover use from regular consumer into professionals is also a great asset for these pieces.
Yeah, this is really a rig for those who are sticking it out there, getting into really extreme environments and potentially for extended periods of time and maybe even work professional environments as well, right? So somebody who just wants something that can take them to that zone, the Circu kit is going to do that, and you're going to look good doing it too. Like this colorway is amazing, right? Like if you're on the mountain with this colorway, you are distinctive, and it's pretty cool that way. Um, uh, so we've reviewed three products, right? The Hex, we're resort focused, the Verbier, which is this real versatile, do it all kit, and then Circu, which takes us to the most extreme environments for potentially extended periods of time, right? The biggest lines on the world is the Circu is intended for. We do have a question here around like you have a much bigger line, right? And I don't want to get it. It's not. I'm not going to do a whole line showing, but like are there products in between these or maybe that branch off in different directions that you just want to quickly highlight for the crowd here?
Yeah, of course. A couple more in the snow space. So within Summit, we also have our East Wall jacket and pant.
Mhm.
And so those are same Gore 3-layer that you're getting in Verbier, just a little bit more pared down in terms of feature set and a little bit more kind of function first in terms of styling. So you have your kind of regular fit in Circu. It's a little bit more slim, a little bit more tailored. In Verbier, we get a little bit more slouch, a little bit more oversized, though still pretty function first. The East Wall kit is kind of your jacket and pant. You're more like resort jacket and pant for somebody who'd be wearing the Circu kit. So pretty function first, but still definitely very ski in terms of styling.
Mhm.
In that really nice, soft, cozy fabric that we use in the Verbier. And East Wall is our only pant in the Summit Snow line at this Gore-Tex pant in the Summit Snow line, very highly requested. So excited about that one. And then in the main snow sports line, we also have our Dawn Strike jacket and pant. Dawn Strike jackets are both insulated for men and for women using 150 denier face fabric. So really nice and durable, pretty classic in terms of styling, kind of also following along with Circu and East Wall. So you think of like Gore Pro 3-layer in Circu, Gore 3-layer with the warm backer in East Wall, and then down to Dawn Strike, which is Gore 2-layer, 150 denier face, with some really nice heat seeker insulation in the jackets to keep you cozy when you're in the resort. And then we do have a pant that goes back to those for men and women as well. Men's is not insulated, women's is. Consumer purchasing trend that we see is really on the women's side. We sell a lot more insulated pants.
Yeah,
The men's side, we don't sell so many insulated pants.
it's
So
interesting.
we have a
Okay.
non-insulated pant for him and an insulated one for her. And that kind of rounds out the Gore lineup for us in snow.
Right, and that's one of the things you mentioned earlier when I asked, what's something about the North Face? You're like, we have something for
We have so
everybody. We
much
have
stuff.
so many products, right? And as a merch person, right, you need to find where are those products, like where are the holes that you can go into and create that white space product. Also, looking at the whole line, right, and making sure that it's not too much. And so that's got to be really interesting. And yeah, the encyclopedic knowledge you have, Laura, of the entire line is insane because I've seen the sample sets. It's crazy,
Awesome.
and everything that you need to know is pretty cool. And really appreciate you sharing your expertise with us today on that. Um, we did say we were going to hit on wash, right? We've hit a lot on in the network on wash and dry, and if you have missed that, you should go back and watch some of the other videos that we've created around wash and dry. But for your perspective, we keep saying, please wash and dry your jacket. Not only is it good for the longevity of the product, it keeps it performing at its best, especially with these new C0 DWRs, right? At Gore, we test for washing and drying. Laura, what is your messaging, or what is the North Face messaging out around wash and dry and why to do it?
So we are saying you gotta wash and dry your stuff. I think it's been kind of an older myth that washing and drying your waterproof breathables actually hurts them. That's kind of the thing that I think a lot of folks have thought is like, you kind of treat this like this delicate thing that you don't want to disturb. And in actuality, you gotta wash and dry your stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's one of the first pieces of education I feel like that kind of blows people's minds when they start
Yes.
here. Is like, for a lot of people, they're coming from either like a core user background or another brand, or, they were a tech rep somewhere, like they have knowledge, and it blows people's minds constantly, like, wait, I'm supposed to wash and dry that? What? Um, so yes, we definitely say you got to wash it, you got to dry it. Super, super important, and you get really great long-term performance out of your stuff.
Yeah, the term we've created here at Experience More Tours, wash anxiety, it's out there. Everybody has wash anxiety around, especially around these like $800, $900 jackets. They're like, no, right? And in fact, it is the opposite. You are buying a nicer jacket because it is extremely easy to care for. You can spill stuff on it, and you can go home and throw it in the washing machine, and then you can throw it in the dryer as you should, and remove the dirt, get it back to high performing, right? It just, incidentally, from a DWR perspective, right? The wash removes the contaminants that prevents DWR from working, and then the dryer rebuilds the chemical polymer that is the DWR, which has it performing at its absolute best. And so you need to do all of these steps. And we do want to break down wash anxiety, and we are really relying on you retailers out there to spread this message to customers as they're purchasing products. And then, and like I think you said it, Laura, like it is the first way to like blow somebody's mind. And like I will go out backcountry touring with somebody who I think is an extremely experienced, like a good friend, and then like I'll look at their jacket and the water's soaking into the shell, and I'm like, when was the last time you washed and dried your jacket? And then boom, we're into a half-hour conversation that they've never washed it. I'm like, why not? And then they're like, I'm gonna go home and wash it. And then they call me and say thank you. So these are messages that we can deliver. It's a lot of fun to deliver and to blow people's minds. And please, the North Face and Gore-Tex is putting so much effort to building these beautiful products. All we ask from consumers is they take care of them a little bit, and they're going to last a long time. So this brings us towards the end here, and like it's been really fun to explore these products with you, Laura. And I've learned quite a bit about how you approach design at the North Face. And obviously, I have a lot of confidence in that North Face can build amazing product. But hearing from you just boosts that confidence for me that your stuff is so purposefully designed and tested by your athletes, and proven to be just amazing product out there. And I love the Gore-Tex assortment that you have right now. It is a cool lineup, and I keep seeing new things like the East Wall. I'm like, well, what's that one, right? And like little fun treasures in the line. So very, very cool. Whatever you and your team are doing, you're crushing it. So thank you for that. So thanks to everybody for supporting this network. Thanks to Laura and the North Face for being here today. And we will see you all back here soon. Have a wonderful winter. I know I will. Snow is falling in the mountains. I'm heading out tomorrow for a ski. So take care, everybody. See you back here soon. Thank you.